Hey guys, I wanted to do some more trainings with everyone so that we can develop all of our team leaders into giving good performance feedback. I think it's really important job. You guys are on the front lines. I've said before, you're working with the agents, you're you're there, you're building relationships with them, but you also understand from the leaderboards kind of how they're performing and where they stand and what who your good performers are and who those are that obviously need to improve. And performance feedback is something I think that doesn't necessarily come naturally to us as we're learning to become a leader and a manager. And it's something that we sometimes may tend to avoid and try to avoid not having those tough conversations or feeling like you're going to offend someone, right? So I want to talk about why that's so important and why it's important to our business, and also just I think from an employee standpoint, people want to know where they stand, and you're in your position because you know how to be successful on the phone, and you want to be able to give that feedback and that information and teaching to the agents so that they can improve. um, it's really super critical that we're not always just giving out praise. Giving out praise isn't why we made you a team leader. Giving out praise is something that we need to do and be supportive, but it's also very easy. Hey, good job, high five. Hey, I really like what you did there. Great job. you know, Praise is important, especially for your top performers. They need to be recognized. But if that's all you're doing, you're kind of missing a huge piece of being a successful coach and leader and improving performance. One example I want to give you guys, and I want to give you, like, I always like to give outside examples to kind of so that you can kind of relate. And I want you to think about maybe something in your own life that you experienced this and how that applies. But I started weight training like 4 years ago, and I would go and I would lift by myself, and I was getting stronger, and I thought, hey, I've come so far. I'm on the bench press, and I'm bench pressing. I started with you know 135 pounds, and I was going up to 155, 165, 175, and then I got all the way up to 225, and I was feeling like, hey, I'm doing really really well. But one of the things that I knew that I was doing wrong, but I just sort of continued to do it, was I was not completing a full range of motion with my weight. I would come down, on my chest, I'd come down to like here and go back up. So I was kind of doing this motion here when I needed to be doing all the way down to my chest and out all the way down. But I'd make excuses. I'd come up with reasons to justify why I wouldn't do that. Well, my arm, I injured my shoulder in high school, and that's why. Or I'm afraid if I get it down onto my chest, I won't be able to maybe get it back up. So I'm just going to kind of do as much as I can. But hey, look at how good I'm doing. I'm doing 225, and I was doing, and I'm like, hey, this is great. I feel really strong, and I feel like I'm doing this well. Well, anyway, I start lifting with my friend Dan, and Dan is a good coach, and he's good about providing feedback, and he knew he could see what I was doing, and he was able to say, hey, you know what? Let's get that down on your chest, and even if we have to go with a lighter weight and drop the weight down and get it so that you can get a full range of motion, because if you don't have a full range of motion, you're not strengthening all of the muscle fibers in your chest and everything like that. So this isn't a weight training exercise, but it's an example of how I thought, I'm doing a great job. Look at what a good job I'm doing. I created my own definition of success. And Dan, being a coach and working with me, he could reinforce that by saying, hey, you know what? You're awesome. Good job, man. You're really killing it. Um, and not give me that tough message of, hey, you're not quite doing this right. Let's get that fixed. That had to happen. That has to happen for me to learn and grow and do better. Otherwise, he just reinforces the bad idea that I had that I'm doing really well. And that's important. So, and you can do it in a way that is kind and respectful and all that when you're working with the team. Agents will come up with their own definition of success. They'll also come up with their own reasons and justifications as to why they can't do it that way or why that doesn't work. And so it's really important for you as a coach and as a leader to be able to point out, hey, I see what you're doing here. This is great, but really I need you to fix these things. And then you'll be doing it the correct way, and I think overall you're going to have more success. And then you revisit that. How did that work? Listen to a few of their calls. I heard you're reverting back to your old behavior and your old habits. You're not bringing it down to your chest. Let's work on that. It takes, especially once you get like ingrained habits with people, it gets really hard for them to break away. It's going to take more than one conversation. It's going to take you giving them the feedback, identifying the problem, giving them the feedback, and then reviewing and seeing how they're doing, and that they've created that new habit, and that then you can show them too, point to the success that they're having now for that, more transfers, more appointments, um, greater success. Those are the things that are important. It's really, our tendency is like, hey, I just want to deliver that good message. Good job, great job. I have an example from another call center that we ran in Sandy, where that was sort of what was happening. Was the messages were all just positive, high level, rah rah, good job, great job, and I'll tell you what, those employees liked that manager. They did. They liked him because he was giving them praise constantly, and they felt like, hey, this guy's great. He's a good manager. Their performance was all kind of mediocre to poor, but they felt like they were doing a good job because they were always told they were doing a good job. And I was there at that office, and I saw some things that were being done incorrectly, and I was correcting them. Well, how do you think I was viewed in trying to correct their bad behavior that they've been praised for so long? They were offended or upset or felt like I was a jerk, or um, didn't know what I was talking about, things like that, right? Well, I'm like, hey, look, when the rest of the company is performing at a 1.5, and these guys are all continuously below a 1, well, their performance isn't where it could be, and that's the only way to correct that is by diving in and seeing technically what they're doing. Another example of being a good coach was a friend of mine that was a sales manager that we worked with. He was an amazing golf coach. I've golfed with so many people, and they're always like, oh, try this, try that, and giving you different tips about your swing, your stance, and your motion, and all that. But he was able to kind of see exactly what I was doing and say, oh, I can see, open up your foot just a slightly, and then I want you to speed up your hips when you're swinging with your motion. And he was able to dial in what I was doing wrong, and it worked. His feedback, it's the only time I've ever had somebody like give me feedback when I'm golfing, and I actually did better, because he knew exactly, he could see his eye was trained to see what I was doing wrong, and then he was able to tell me what to do. If you don't have that, then you're just spitting in the wind or whatever, where you're like, hey, try this, try that, blah blah blah. With the agent, hey, work on your rebuttals. That's a real high level. Like, well, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean? When you listen to them specifically and what they're saying, and you say, hey, take that gap out, stop when they have an objection. You don't pause. You immediately respond with your rebuttal, and you want to be confident, and you want to have the right tone. and you know what that tone is. If you've been on the phone, and as a team leader you've been successful on the phone, you've developed and figured out what those things are. Never lose those memories and those examples from your own calls that you've done, because those are going to be so valuable when you're teaching and training and developing other agents. um, we're a performance-based company, and everybody, all of our programs, the opportunity is the same. It's the same for everybody. They're only competing against themselves. What did they do yesterday? How did they do yesterday? Do a little, how do we do better today? How do we do better tomorrow than we did today? It's just like golf. When I go out and golf with three other people, I'm not competing against them. I'm competing against myself, because I'm only as good as my technique. The technique that I use. That's what it comes down to. If I have poor technique, I will be a poor golfer. If I have good technique or better technique, when I hit the ball really well, I had good technique on that swing. And how do you develop good technique? Every time you step up to the ball, every time you pick up the phone, every time someone answers, how do you have the right technique to be successful? And that's really what it comes down to. And I want you guys to learn how to do that. Don't step away from those tough conversations. Um, a good coach and leader in Squeeze's mind is someone that can give that feedback and improve performance. And I've seen it over and over with a lot of our team leads that we have, that do a phenomenal job. We've seen um, SPHs on campaigns shattered. The expectations were like, hey, we want to be here. And then they set a higher goal, and then they really work with those low performers to improve that performance. It's not easy, but that's the job. That's the job that we have as team leads, is improving performance, and as managers on the floor. That's our job, is to help them do better. And when they do better, they're going to earn more and they're going to be happier. But there's two benefits that come from improved performance. Improved paycheck for the agent, they make more money, and they have a better feeling of success, which is something that we as humans need. We need to feel successful. We need to feel like we're doing well. And tell you what, telling somebody that's doing bad that they're doing well, that's very short-lived result. It's a very short-lived feeling of success. And when they look at their own performance and they see how they compare with everybody else, they know that they're not doing well. So telling them they're doing well is actually more detrimental to their happiness and their success with Squeeze than giving them that honest, tough feedback. It takes more time. You gotta really listen to what they're doing, and you've got to have that trained ear to give them that feedback. But when you do, man, it makes all the difference in the world. And you're going to see their performance go up. You're going to see your team's performance elevate, because there's nothing worse than I'll say the only thing worse than a low performer on a Squeeze call floor is a group of low performers on a Squeeze call floor that all work together. Because guess what? If my performance is bad, I'm like, hey, look, I'm just doing what they're telling me to do. I'm calling the leads that they give me. It's not me, right? But they look at their neighbor and they're like, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? No, no, I'm not doing well either. Okay, so now I look over here to my left and I'm like, are you doing okay? No, they're not doing it well either. So the three people there all together. Well, guess what? My feelings and ideas about my low performance are now justified by the other people that are not performing either. So it's really important that we get people performing, but then we also create a culture and a team environment of performance so that we can rise together and not, justify, our low performance. The fact that it's not me, it's the leads, it's the time of day, it's the message that we have, it's the value proposition of our message with the product that we're offering. And so anyway, enough on that. I think you guys get the message. Try this out. I want to get feedback from you on using it. I want you to use this in your conversations with your employees, with your team that you're working with, and I want you to give me feedback and tell me how you think it worked, because this is something that I live and breathe and I love. And we've got to have really meaningful feedback for people so that they can improve. Thanks for all you're doing. Let's keep going, keep growing.